toys. I mean, that's what we do is the content that I make. It's like picture like American Pickers,
But with-
Pawn Stars, but for like 80s, 90s nostalgia.
That's beautiful. That's my favorite.
Yeah.
We weren't even born in that
Oh.
era, so. Let's see. So, what kind of
shit.
toys do you collect?
Yeah, so I'm actually a big Simpsons guy. So I
Simpsons
got
good.
like a huge Simpsons collection of just old like 90s collectibles, toys, but really everything from Street Sharks to like Ninja Turtles.
Ninja Turtles. I'm on my Ninja Turtle kick now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ninja Turtles, Ghostbusters.
Yeah. Well,
WWF Hasbro is like my all-time. That's my.
maybe
baby.
we'll do a
Bread and
Get a
butter.
Grip retro gaming pandemic collab, and you guys can do a hunting episode
But
with
you
us.
should see my
We'll
office.
take-
My
we'll-
office is insane.
Okay, well we'll
It's
try to
insane.
find you some cool stuff for your office.
That
That
would
could be
be
kind of
sweet.
the hook of the video.
Yeah, and I can bumble around.
Yeah, I'm like, wow, you guys are buying toys.
You guys are nerds.
Yeah.
You know what? But though, I mean, this stuff has value though.
Oh yeah.
Fuck yeah.
I
mean,
wish I had
oh,
like,
yeah.
man, I probably spent 10 grand in my office.
Oh.
Easy.
Oh, dude, I don't.
'Cause
Like,
I
you give me
I'll send my
shit for
collection of-
fucking. Give me a fucking break.
But
Insane.
mine's an investment, bud.
Yeah.
What? So?
So
I
what?
like. What did you give me shit for?
Gambling?
Yeah, that's an investment.
Is it though?
I think it's cool, especially in the office where you work too, like that having some nostalgia and something that makes you happy, you know, kind of something you're proud of that you can show
My
off.
wife doesn't appreciate it. What are you buying all these stupid toys for?
Oh yeah, well,
Because it gives me what you can't. You
Yeah.
know, childhood back.
yeah, some of the good times before all of this kind of
All the
hit
insanity.
us, you know.
And it's actually I had all of them as I had every bit of them, then lost them because of addiction, and had to go buy them all back.
Man, we can
20
talk about that.
20 years later.
That's like a whole other like topic, you know. We can talk about that all day, man, because you know I feel you on that. You know, I feel you on that.
My
That
guy.
resonates.
Good.
That's all I got.
Are you good?
That's all I had.
All right, cool.
We're just going in.
Jared, yeah, we're going in.
Okay.
We're gonna go right in.
No intro.
Yeah.
Okay, countdown.
I like the cold opens.
Yeah.
Let's just go.
Yeah.
Let's go.
Special guest. We got Jared with us today.
Yes, I'm very happy to be here too, guys. Thank you for having me.
Of course, old high school friend or acquaintance hooked us up.
Yep.
Hit me up on Instagram and said there's this guy that has this wonderful story, and we said we got to get him out here.
Yeah, and
That's what I said to you.
I know. And then I was like, cool. He's a recovering addict, right?
Yeah.
Great. But like, yeah, you're a toy guy and a video game guy.
Yeah.
That's what really sold me on the deal.
Oh, great,
I
great.
was like, all right, we can just cut Lou out of the whole thing. Just talk
We
video
can just
games.
talk about
The
video
whole
games and
time.
toys and how we sold our collection for drugs, and now
Yeah.
now that we're sober, we're buying everything back
We're
again.
overcompensating
Yeah.
for our childhood.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, getting it all back slowly.
Right, right.
You have your own YouTube channel. What else do you do?
Yeah, so for those who don't know, first off, my name is Jared. I'm a digital marketer by day and a content creator by night. I have a channel called Retro Gaming Pandemic that I run with my twin brother. And also I am a video editor for probably one of the largest retro gaming channels on YouTube, Pixel Game Squad. And both channels think American Pickers, Pawn Stars, but for like 80s, 90s nostalgia. So video games, toys, vintage shirts, VHS tapes, like everything that kind of makes us feel good when we think about our childhood growing up in the 90s.
I just got goosebumps. man.
Did you?
Yeah.
You got.
I
yeah.
love all that.
What
stuff.
else did you get?
What else? I'm glad I'm like 8 feet away from you.
Yeah, I know,
You
I
It's
know.
like-
And you coming up on 2.5 years sober, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
and the
buddy.
reason why we're here is, I'm recovering addict, going on 2.5 years of sobriety from all drugs and alcohol by the grace of God. And
Congrats.
really kind of, the last 2.5 years specifically has been kind of that, for me, that spiritual walk, that kind of standard kind of Christian operations of somebody that was truly lost, rock bottom in my own sense of someone experiencing pain of why I was using in the first place to truly seeking that redemption, that repentance of my past through surrendering to my Lord Jesus and transformation 180, man, and I'm a true testament of that, and that's why I go on podcasts and I talk to people in my community here in Columbus and so on, and share my story, man, hoping that I can help others just like you guys are too, which is why I'm grateful to be on your platform.
Yeah, thanks for coming, man.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
Beautiful. I bravo to like the proudly shouting it out, man. Because like I too am a believer, but I'm like, people hear like you believe in Jesus, and they're like kind of like Jesus freak. So good for you for shouting it out from the rooftops, man.
I'll tell you this. And I was actually talking to Tim in the car while we were driving here, and as I was thinking about what the 12 steps are, for example, for me, it's conditioning myself to have faith to begin with, because we are humans who are inherently prone to worship in some sense. And for me, I worshipped drugs and alcohol. I put cocaine and I put whiskey at the altar as my deity. And I look at it as, an addict has the most faith out of anybody, because your faith comes to like that energy you get when you're about to pick up an 8-ball and you get so excited, and then you call your dude and he's like, I'll be home in 30 minutes. And then he's not home for 3 hours.
Yeah.
And you're devoted.
Yeah.
You're devoted, though. You wait. You're devoted. You sit right there just waiting. And then you go get that bag. And you're like, yes, this is great. And then you do the bag. And you're like, oh, this was cut with a bunch of creatine and baking soda. But then you're like, I'm so devoted, I'm going to buy another one.
Oh, yeah.
I know it's trash, but I'm going to buy another one,
Yeah.
And that's really kind of that faith of like, wanting that drug, wanting that high, and your brain's telling you. And then what I had to learn going through the steps and going through recovery is that my faith was always with me. I was worshiping a false god.
Faith in the wrong place.
Faith in the wrong place. And to me, it truly took in my life to surrender to the right God, and that God is Jesus. And I always viewed surrendering as a form of weakness, because that's what we're told, that if you surrender to something, you are weak, you're giving up. But I realized my weakest moments in my life was being a drug addict. So when I surrendered to the Lord, it was freedom. And that's what surrendering is when it comes to Christ. It's freedom.
Lou, how uncomfortable are you right now?
I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm not uncomfortable.
They said everything is.
Everything's fair.
Yeah. So.
No. The thing that's beautiful is like, I was taught all I need is a higher power, and so like as long as I can't create it, so like I can't make the sun come up in the morning, then I'm good, because I'll overcomplicate the whole higher power thing to a place where it'll throw me all out of whack. So I have to keep it very simple.
And look,
for me,
there's practices and principles in that still are relevant to the Christian faith and other religions too. It's just, as I'm a truth seeker, that I am exploring, reading the Bible and participating in prayer and studying the Word of God that I see as my creator, I am realizing that though those practices are great and beneficial and helpful, it's really important to me to know who God is and have that personal relationship with Him.
Well, I was always jealous of people like that I met in recovery that like knew exactly like what they were praying to or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
So I was like, this motherfucker like knows exactly what he's fucking doing, and it took me. I still don't have it figured out really. I don't know that I ever will, but like. I was always jealous of people that came in and were like, yep, I know what the deal is. Like, I know what I'm praying to.
And the thing with that, though, and I think, people that aren't believers who have bad experiences with their faith is that we are still putting men and humans ahead of what we should actually be focusing on, is with the relationship with our God or our higher power, our Jesus, So we're still, using perception of what men feel and what other people feel to kind of compensate for what we really need to be focusing on, and that's a personal relationship.
Well, congratulations, dude.
Bud.
I mean,
2.5 years.
2.5 years.
That's a miracle right
that's
there.
That's a big deal.
Man, it really is. I don't know what the format is, but if we go on question form
No,
or
yeah,
just kind of just
I'm curious
freestyle
where
it?
you came from, where you grew
Yeah,
up,
yeah.
childhood for
So
Jared.
I'm from the east side of Columbus, and I think like a lot of us that I think we can kind of relate to is that growing up as kind of an angsty teen, a rebellious teen, I was skateboarding and getting into music, so through influences that probably weren't the best for me at 15 years old, I got introduced to drugs. And we say weed's the gateway drug, but actually I did cocaine first. So
Right off the rip.
right off the
Wow.
rip,
Started
man.
off
Right
strong.
off the rip.
Good for you.
And it was one of those things where like that high, the second it's funny because like there's a lot of things in my life I don't remember, but I remember the first time I tried cocaine. And to be 15 years old and be so young and know what that kind of those endorphins are impacting in my brain while it's still being developed, it's like I kind of always just kept chasing that high. And still did well in school, though, staying up late on the weekends, partying with my friends throughout high school, and got into college and went to OSU, and, still partying and stuff, and, living kind of like that life that society says, oh, you're in your early 20s, it's okay to party, it's okay to start developing what you don't know
It's
as
okay
actual...
to do a bunch of cocaine.
It's okay to do a bunch of cocaine, not knowing that these like bad habits are going to affect you in the long term as your brain is becoming more normalized to this habit. And I'm somebody who've been very ambitious, but I've also been very compulsive. And I realized as an addict that it can be my kryptonite, because obviously my compulsiveness for wanting to chase a high, and cocaine was my drug. So I'm going to be just straight up, like, cocaine was my drug. I mean, that's what I loved it.
How do you afford cocaine as a 15-year-old? I could barely throw $10 together for
I worked
a
hard.
joint.
So it's like that compulsiveness though too. Like it's your kryptonite because it's destroying you, but also that addiction and that compulsiveness used in a correct way can be a superpower. And being 2.5 years sober, I'm now using that superpower to serve my community, serve the Lord, help people, work hard in my creative ventures. I'm using that compulsiveness now as a superpower. But back then, as a kryptonite, you work hard to get that extra cash to be able to just blow it at your dealer who has just been sitting around all day trapping,
and he's at the light right now.
And then, of course, the affordability, just probably like a lot of us, if where the drugs are, people want drugs, it's inherently a business mindset to go buy bulk and go sell. And then also with coke to cut it too and make it, expand it, so yeah, I mean, as far as affordability, especially in those teenage years going into college especially, is buy an ounce of blow.
Were you exposed to this stuff as a kid, like your family? And
No, my I grew up in a household that there were no drugs. There were no, my parents rarely drank. And from my understanding, not even anyone really in my family had any struggles with addiction that I know about. I mean, there's maybe a couple people, I don't want to put them on blast, but yeah, it wasn't kind of like brought up into it. It was just kind of truly just my like rebellious curiosity of wanting to, feel good and chase something and just be kind of a rebellious kid, not realizing that maybe that was adding up to my future destruction. And I talk about the compulsiveness thing. That's was a big reality to me when I got clean, is to realize like I'm just a compulsive person. So when I get into something, I get really into it. And the thing is, in my whole life, like I moved to Los Angeles, I worked in the music industry. A lot of cocaine in the music industry, folks. Good Lord. It's like living in Hollywood too, like ordering, a bag of blow from the cartel that brings it to you like an Uber is like ordering French fries with a hamburger at, Five Guys or In-N-Out. Sure. So it's like, it's just everyone does it. So, all these things in my life are building up to what then became a daily cocaine addiction. And, I moved back to Columbus to pursue my marketing career and being by my family. And as I'm building my career and becoming more successful and making more money, I'm realizing that that success is just a justification for why I'm using it in the first place. Because an addict will trick themselves being like, well, I did this today, so I should reward myself. Or I accomplished this today at work, I should reward myself. And, oh, by that, go hit a happy hour up and go buy a gram. But now that's becoming a daily routine. And we're blindsided by the fact that our world is crumbling around us. Our relationships are crumbling around us. And all I'm caring about is doing lines of cocaine in my Nissan. I mean, seriously, though, and it got to a point where it's like, okay, where is my come to Jesus moment? Because at this point, I had no faith, I had no spirituality, I had no God. I was living for myself and the desires and temptations that Jared wanted. And I was in a long-term relationship leading up to 2022, so even throughout the pandemic. And at that point, I'm using every single day, 7 days a week, a couple grams a day. Very expensive habit, yes, I know. And I have a fiance, a woman I love so much, and I always back in my head told myself, like, if I meet the right woman, I'll get sober. I'll get sober. And I realized that actually wasn't the case, because at the time I did think I did meet the right woman. And you guys familiar with the I Am Sober app? You ever hear it's like a sobriety tracker app.
Yeah,
I'm finding myself every 2 days just resetting it constantly, hundreds and hundreds of times, just constantly resetting this app for years and years, because I'm using almost every single day, if not daily. And it was going into my sobriety date, which is May 1st, 2022. A few weeks before that, at the end of April, I was miserable, and I really contemplated taking my life. I was at a point I was ready to give up. I was starting to get these suicidal thoughts in my brain, and I was like, I'm never going to beat this. At this point, I did kind of sense losing my job, losing my fiance, losing my family, losing my friends. I was isolated inside my closet, because everyone has their kind of safe place where they feel like they can use, and at my home it was in this closet I have in a sunroom, and it was kind of like my jail. It was my jail cell. I never, got arrested or anything, but that was my own kind of jail cell in the sense, because I felt like I was a prisoner in that closet.
Is it a walk-in closet?
It's a walk-in closet, yeah, and I had my little setup that I would hide from my ex. Even though she knew.
I was going to say, I'm sure you weren't really hiding it.
Yeah, she
I'm not think we're hiding.
And it's hard to because most addicts go to the bathroom. You can justify being in the bathroom, but how do you justify spending 8 hours in the closet?
You can't justify it.
That's how,
yeah. And it's a point I just remember God bless her, man. I look back, and that's part of making amends is forgiving yourself too. So I'm past that, but thinking about thinking I was going to be so sneaky where she's in the other room working on whatever, and I'm going to this random closet every 10 minutes, but then it's come on, dude, no crap, you're doing something.
Yeah, you can't do that much organizing of your closet at all.
But yeah, go for it.
I was going to say, what pushed you, you said you did cocaine at 15, what pushed you down that road? Was it peer pressure, or the classic fucking peer pressure excuse, or what was it that kind of veered you off in that direction?
I'm a man. I'm taking responsibility for my actions. I liked it. That's what pushed me.
I liked the way it smelled.
I liked it. Yeah. I liked the way I felt on it.
That was a really bad joke. Thank you.
I liked the habitual aspect, the camaraderie of getting a bunch of friends together and staying up all night doing a ball and then talking about absolutely nothing. Conversations
telling the same story.
Dude, conversations you thought were meaningful, and it's no, I don't even remember that now.
So what's your role in high school? Are you just are you the jock, you the nerd?
Dude, I was the I think I can't remember who said this yesterday, but they were you really are kind of the shepherd in the sense that you bring people together, and that's who I was, man. I brought all groups together. I was very, very popular in that sense that, I hung out with jocks. I was more of a creative kid, skateboarder, musician, but I had friends in all circles, and I had a great high school experience. I'm grateful that I was popular and well-liked. But I feel like my God-given gift has always been the ability to connect with people and network. And that was kind of one of the come to Jesus moments for me as I was getting more deep into my addiction within my 30s, you know, in 2022 specifically. I realized like I lost that gift because now I was so isolated in that closet that I didn't want to be by anyone at all, including a woman I loved, who I couldn't build a connection with her. And one of those things she, you know, when I knew it was all going to fall apart in that relationship, she just said, she's like, I just don't feel connected to you anymore. So I prayed for my first time ever, and I'm like, God, I can't live like this because I'm going to die. Like, I already know I've had already multiple situations where I felt like I was overdosing. You know, I had to lay in the shower and pray that my heart wasn't going to explode out of my chest, or like started feeling dizzy. And, you know, maybe it was a mini overdose from just doing too much cocaine or whatever it was cut with or whatever. And I mean, at that point, you're doing it so much daily too. Your heart just can only take so much. And I prayed. I was like, God, if you are real, you give me a sign that's going to break this cycle that's going to kill me. And I prayed, and a week later, my fiance left me and gave me the ring back. And we talk about pain, right? And for me, that was the pain, the exact amount of pain that I needed to create the change in my life and truly be on my knees and surrender. And I surrendered to Jesus, and I was like, I'm ready to go on this walk with you if you'll have me. And, you know, he left the 99 and found the one, and I was the one in that situation. And, you know, I haven't touched a drug and alcohol since. I didn't have to go to any outpatient or inpatient rehab facility for what, you know, like there was withdrawals and stuff from cocaine because it's so addictive. But, you know, I really felt like I had the strength from some type of supernatural being that allowed me to really make pivotal transformations in my life very, very quickly. Because that was the thing. I needed to make changes fast because if not, I was going to use again.
So you never tried treatment prior to?
Correct.
So it was just
I went through the steps on my own.
No jail, no treatment.
No jail, no treatment, man. I was
rarity out here.
Daily user. And, you know, something I didn't really talk about is while I'm in active addiction, you know, my current job, I'm a digital marketer for a home service company. But when I got hired 6 months before I got sober, so I'm in an active addiction at this company, I get this job, and I'm talking to one of the owners, and I find out the owners, the CEO, and multiple executive leadership are all former addicts, and that they own a nonprofit company in Xenia, Ohio, that is a recovery trade school. So they help addicts go through recovery, and then
skills.
At the end they hire you, they teach you how to be a plumber, HVAC, or electrician, and then they hire you within the company. So they're hiring someone that's in active addiction. They don't realize that because, you know, I'm hiding it.
Or maybe they did.
And I'll never forget the first week I was there. I had a meeting with the owner, and he's like, I don't know what it is, but you're an answer to prayer. And in the back of my mind, I was like, if you only knew that you're an answer to my prayer.
Ooh.
And so to then 6 months later make that kind of leap of faith that I'm ready to get sober, and I'm dealing with a heartbreak, and I'm trying to withdraw off cocaine and really kind of change my life. They were one of the first people I went to, was my leadership team, my vice president, my CEO, and I was like, look, I need to tell you guys something, and I feel like this is a safe, comfortable place to be honest with you. And I am an addict, and I've been an addict, and I'm getting sober, and this is about to be a walk I'm about to go on. And they're just like, we are here for you, man. And they checked up on me. When I hit my first year of sobriety, they celebrated me, man. It was a really beautiful thing.
Have somebody that understands.
Because they've been there. That, dude, we're addicts, but like, dude, we are just like, we transformed by this demon, man, taken over by this demon, and it's just, sometimes you just can't help it. Like, it's crazy how powerful some of these drugs are. And I know you guys have your own experiences and testimonies with that. That it's like, I didn't want to not be with my fiance. I didn't want to, like, when she needed me, I was doing lines in my car and hanging out with the plug, who I thought was my best friend, who I've never heard from ever after.
No.
He didn't congratulate you on your 1 year?
No. Oh, yeah. He didn't send me a gift
No.
basket, some, like, a charcuterie board, you know, like, and it's like you realize, like, man, like, you're really missing out on those relationships and those connections where you thought you were just partying, having a good time, and you realize, man, like, in this world, people need you, and you're not present because you're worshiping drugs.
Take us back to Hollywood. Take us to Los Angeles.
Yeah,
Prior to all this.
You want to hear some fun stories?
I mean, yeah,
folks?
just whatever, how the progression, or like, I mean, obviously you're doing this stuff in high school as a kid.
Yeah.
I'm sure when you, or at least for me, if I went out to Hollywood, I'd be like, I'm the fucking man. Like,
yeah, I was feeling good, man. Like,
And what were you doing out there? Music?
Yeah. So I worked in the industry. I did marketing for a record label. I'm not going to name the companies and stuff. But yeah, it was a pretty large EDM music label, so I had like an entry level like marketing position, but to be honest, to be in any type of position in the industry is a blessing because it's so competitive, it's so hard that to like most people to even get a job at a record label is like impossible, to begin with. And then on top of that, I also did publishing for a giant major label, and I won't name the name also. So, yeah, and like a lot of these were just, I'm in my early 20s at that point. So like this is kind of me starting my career as a digital marketer. But, out there, it's that party scene is very normalized, and like, everyone always talks about Hollywood being kind of this demonic place, and it's just more so, it's like everyone is very self-absorbed, self-worshipping, and it's true, guys. You can be like, oh, he's being a hater, like, get out of here. You know it's true, and if you don't agree, you're just lying to yourself, because people are so consumed with that rat race that they forget, what's the purpose of being there. Regardless, it's like, oh, this is my dream, this is my dream, this is my dream. But then you get so caught up in the toxicity of it that, and specifically is drugs and alcohol out there. How many celebrities die all the time? How many people have like overdosed, like in the mainstream sense of it? You hear about it all the time. You hear about people who have millions of dollars in the bank that want to kill themselves. So, but I will say, having said all of that, I have some pretty wild celebrity encounter stories. And one specifically I was, telling Tim is like being at this party in the Hollywood Hills, and a very, very famous male pop singer. That's all I'm going to say, because I'm not trying to get a grip, get a lawsuit. So, but yeah, a very popular male pop singer. I'm at this like Hollywood Hills party with my roommates at the time. She was like plugged in the modeling world, so she got us in, and I start hearing like this like screaming from like a back room, and I was like, what the heck?
This is at the party?
At the party, I'm hearing screaming. And I was like, dude, is someone like getting killed? What's going on? And then I see this giant, like 7-foot security guy, like holding this man who's literally like kicking and screaming. And I look at this guy who's this famous pop singer. I was like, oh, this is so-and-so. And he has handfuls of cocaine in his hands, giant fistfuls, and he's just throwing blow all over this like giant like living room of this mansion in the hills, screaming. And there's like white powder just flying everywhere. And I was like, this cannot be real. And the security guard, like his personal bodyguard or whatever, just like, takes them out screaming, and they just leave. Yeah, so I see this giant security bodyguard of this pop singer, taking him out of this party as he's throwing like fistful of like cocaine all over, and white powder's just like going around this room.
Are people hitting the floor?
Dude, going nuts, dude. This is like, I was like, is it Christmas in LA or something? What is going on? And I was like, well, this is my first weekend in Hollywood, because it literally was like the first weekend. Like I moved and went to this party.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, I was like, well, this is going to be a trip.
Yeah, it's like a dream.
Yeah.
I would be that geek on the floor, like,
scooping it up.
Yeah, I was just more in awe. But man, like drugs are so accessible out there, and I'm not glorifying the accessibility. I'm just saying that it's dangerous. And honestly, it's accessible everywhere, wherever you are in the country. But I mean, there was literally like an app. It was like This is crazy, guys. This was an app that the Mexican drug cartel like developed that like was kind of like an Uber app. So they had their own app. It was like a web app that you could like put, on your phone, and then you literally would just like contact this number through the app and then place your order, and then you would get like text message updates like 30 minutes, 15 minutes. Jose pulls up in a Toyota Camry for whatever, step outside, and then you would step out and they would like take the center console out and like, serve you, bro. Like it was wild. And it was like a 24/7 service.
That is absolutely insane. Like where were those like in our
Wow,
days,
I know.
Genius,
that made
right?
life a lot easier.
But they were ruthless too, man. Like I remember I had a buddy, he like owed them only like $20. Like he got fronted like a 20.
They would front you?
Yeah, they would front you. You better pay them back.
Service.
He went a few weeks without just paying them $20, and they pulled a gun on him. I remember that, over $20.
Proof
So
point.
yeah, so I was like, oh, well, these guys aren't to mess with.
Is there a minimum you have to like purchase?
No.
No.
I think it was like 20. Yeah, there was a minimum. The quality always improved based off the quantity. So if you start getting in like the ball territory or more, that's kind of when the raw came out. So
The good stuff.
The fish scale, as they
yeah.
call
the
it.
fish scale.
And then like, how do you even? What is it? Marketing.
How do you market that?
What's
there's a landing page and a
What's
lead
your
generation
job? You're
form.
a creative marketer. What's the job title?
Yes, I'm a digital marketing strategist.
And how do you even like discover that thing? Because that's a pretty small little like part of the world. How do you like one day
as a
just be like-
career?
how do you one day just be like, I think I'm gonna do that?
Oh, well, so I went to school for marketing, and the strategist element. So you say it's like it's kind of a specific title, but it's actually a title that's in like every single company, because especially the way digital is with lead generation and the power of the Google search engine results, and everyone's trying to optimize their content to be able to be searchable based off specific targeted keywords. I mean, that's what really my job is. That I go in and I optimize our digital ads based off specific targeted keywords towards the home services that somebody may be searching for. And you can translate that to any industry. You can translate that to Get a Grip podcast, whether that's addiction recovery podcast or whatever. And it's all about kind of optimizing based off the algorithm to get the highest search results. And you do that through these targeted keywords.
When you were in LA pursuing music,
Yes.
you were doing both, or you were just chasing like?
I was just chasing music.
I was gonna say,
But
was that your dream?
Yeah, my dream was music. I mean, so, I have a history of being a producer and a hip hop artist, which is kind of the irony of the other thing.
You met any big hip hop artists?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Especially living out in California too, and kind of networking. Yes, absolutely. Trying to think what's like.
Or have you worked with any of them?
So I got to the point in my music career where I would consider like on a more like higher independent level, where I was still touring and going out of state to different cities around the country to play shows, and I still had a following, but it was nothing like on a major scale where I was getting placements, which is why I was like, okay, I still love music, so at least me being in Hollywood, I'm going to work as a marketer, because that's what I went to school with, so I can still be part of the music industry but not be an artist, be more of on the business side. But through the record label I worked at, I mean, yeah, I met plenty of big names. I mean, like, this was back in like 2015. So, like Little Uzi Vert was just like popping off, and he would come into. He would.
I don't.
Do you know who Little Uzi Vert is?
I know who that
Yeah.
is.
So like Uzi, for example, he would come through a lot and stuff in the studio and do collabs with some of the other DJs and producers on the label, and Yeah, I mean, there's just a lot. Yeah, it's just there's a lot. You meet a lot of people. It's more so in passing and stuff. But to answer your question, I wouldn't necessarily say as an artist I've collaborated with,
Right, but rubbed
to,
elbows
but
with
oh
them,
yeah,
or
absolutely. But I'll tell you what, man. The thing about Los Angeles and Hollywood is that it's essentially like Columbus. So just to give you, and I'm talking about like Central Columbus, downtown Columbus. Like it's a small neighborhood in the sense. So I mean. I think what Columbus Metro proper. I mean, we got to be maybe like 100,000 people. Obviously we're a million plus city as far as suburbs and stuff, but I'm talking about like Hollywood is like being in downtown Columbus. So it's a neighborhood. So you run into celebrities and famous people and rub elbows all the time. And at the end of the day, these are just normal, imperfect, flawed people just like us who have the same demons, the same pain. When a celebrity gets their heart broken, it's like we get our heart broken, man, because we're just all humans. So a lot of those people just want to meet real, genuine, authentic people. And so yeah, you rub elbows with people living in that environment. If you're a cool dude.
So does life spiral out of control out there? How do you end up from there to back here?
Yeah.
or at any point out there were you like, okay, this cocaine thing or this drug thing is getting out of control? Were you in denial?
Of course, you're in your denial because still, like I said, success can justify using because it's like a reward system. But what really brought me back was that at the time, my grandmother, who I was very close to, she was dying, and I really wanted to be with her during her last moments. And obviously, like, it's such a hustle and bustle out in Los Angeles. I was like, man, I don't know, could I even see myself being fully happy here? And there's just a lot of partying, but you know what? I partied back in Columbus too, so I'm not even gonna blame it on the
Doesn't
city.
matter where
Actually,
you're at.
my addiction got worse when I got back into Columbus because at least in Los Angeles, things are so expensive. There's no amount of money you can make that's gonna be able to put you in a position where you feel like you're, you know, on top,
yeah,
or you're not underwater, so I only could do so much. But when I came back to Columbus and started building my marketing career, and my salaries kept going up, and I kept doing some other side hustles, and I owned some businesses when I moved back here too, which gave me some more financial freedom at the time. Then you start really justifying, like, man, I got the cash for this, I could go pick up a bag, I just worked really hard today. So actually, and then also, though there's no Uber app in Columbus, it's still pretty easy to score drugs and anywhere, right?
I
Any
don't think
city.
it matters where we are.
It doesn't matter. It's
I'll
everywhere.
find
Pretty
the
good
guy.
at finding it.
You'll find the guy. That's where that devotion comes in. I was talking about if you put drugs and alcohol as your deity on the altar, you are going to seek it. You will find it.
Do you think had you not gotten into the drugs the way you did, that you would have made it in music? I mean, you said it's your dream. Do you think that hindered? I mean, obviously it hindered you. I think that's fair for any of us. Like, the drug use slowed us down.
I'll tell you what, Lewis, it's not even just specifically like music. It's that, like I said, I'm worshiping something that's false. I'm worshiping drugs. I'm glorifying drugs in my music like a lot of other secular artists are doing. So I look at them like, yeah, they made it, but did they make it? So my definition of success in that sense is like, am I putting my artistic vision to promote something that is more positive and more hopeful, and that's spreading that kind of, joy? And I view it as, even if I would have made it, my messaging would have still been flawed. So in my heart and in my soul and spirit, I feel like I would have been a failure still, regardless if I signed a multi-million-dollar rap contract or produced a song for Drake or whatever. It still doesn't matter because my soul and spirit still wouldn't have been set. So everything I went through in my life to get to where I am right now in this chair, that's kind of where that rich and successness has come from now, because now I feel like I have everything because I have the Lord.
Do you ever like develop any like coke paranoia or like schizophrenia? Like what's
Yeah,
that
what's
like?
your longest bender? How many days you
Oh,
stay up or
gosh,
shit
dude.
like
And
that?
are you a consistent user, or is it just like, yeah, I do a week?
Oh
and then
no!
I'm done?
I mean, so leading up to COVID and even throughout COVID, it was a daily usage for years at that point. And so, I mean, you think about like staying up late. It's just like how even you coming down, how great a sleep can you actually get, especially when you're trying to juggle still your life and So I mean, the most sleep I got for like a couple years was like 3 or 4 hours like every night. But to talk about the paranoia, man, this is the stupidest thing. I'll never forget. You know, you damage your nose, you damage your sinus cavities. I mean, I'm pretty transparent with this, but like I have a hole in my nose. I have a hole in my nose.
Yeah.
I'm eventually probably gonna have to get this fixed at some point.
I think it's pretty normal for
I know I
people who use
snore
a lot
loud.
of
Yeah,
cocaine.
I have kind of a deviated septum or whatever. But I just remember like me having this crazy headache. Dude, this is so stupid. So I have this crazy headache, and I'm just completely coked out of my mind. I'm by myself, and I took like a Tylenol to help with this headache. And I like when you're that like messed up, like even simple things like swallowing a pill is like climbing Mount Everest because I know that sounds so stupid, but you're geeked out and like your mind's not right. So like I swallowed this pill and it just like scratched the back of my throat. So you have that sensation that something's not right in your throat. But for me, I thought the pill was stuck in my throat. So I thought I was literally choking on a Tylenol. Because you have that feeling. Like I literally was like feeling around my neck for like an hour being like.
Panicking.
Dude, panicking like, oh, I'm choking on this Tylenol. And it sounds such like a tweaker move. But if you're ever in that situation, it just truly shows like how drugs can kind of manipulate your thought process of logic in general, and which then affects your whole entire life too, because then you're seeing like, okay, well, if he thinks he's choking on a Tylenol that just scratched his throat and he's going to die that way, then no wonder why he's also in his car when he's supposed to be going to zoo lights snorting lines, like because addiction truly manipulates and changes your brain patterns and what you think,
And nobody can tell you it's not real.
and nobody
Like,
can tell you
so
it's
you
not
at that
real.
moment that you were gonna die,
Dude,
of choking on a Tylenol.
I was gonna die choking on a Tylenol, not my heart exploding or anything. The Tylenol is what's gonna take me out.
Do you still believe you're a drug addict? So for me,
I'm glad you asked this question.
I think it's, again, I'll speak for myself. Like to me, it's a disease.
Yep.
I have it.
Yep.
And like drugs and alcohol were the solution to my disease. Where do you stand on that?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I think that's a question that circles around the recovery space a lot because, like, one, I come at it as, man, I hate to think that I'm a victim forever, that everything I've done in my life to break this addiction is still going to be around me in my life 30, 40 years from now. But having said that, recognizing it is a disease recognizes that, I can no longer have drugs and alcohol for my entire life. I can no longer, I mean, it's going to be a lifelong commitment to me. So if I feel passionate when my dad asks me, do you think, will you ever drink ever? Not do drugs. My dad's not like, don't do drugs. But he's like, would you ever casually have a glass of wine? Not that my dad's encouraged me to do this at all. But he asked, will
My
you
dad
ever,
used to ask me,
will
the
you
same
ever
stuff.
drink again? And I say, absolutely not. Then me answering absolutely not is now recognizing that this is a lifelong disease. I will say this. I don't know, have you guys ever done the non-alcoholic, like, beers and liquors and things they make, like NA stuff? I hate it. I hate it because essentially you are so to answer your question, yes, I do think it actually is a disease, something I'm going to deal with forever, because even the thought process of drinking a beer without alcohol in it or a shot of whiskey without alcohol still triggers something in my brain to be like,
what's the point?
What's the point? And is this
it's
right?
Pretty clear. Like, why the fuck would I have an NA beer? Because I drink for the effect that alcohol produces.
The effect of it, that
So
would be me like going on
good.
Amazon and paying $25 for a bag of creatine and just snorting lines here and there.
Right.
What is the point? That's stupid, you know? So I do view it as a disease. Now, I think that disease is also rooted, like I said, in the compulsiveness of my personality too, where when I get my mind on something, I get fixated on it, and that's when it comes down to compulsiveness, and as an addict can be used as a superpower or your kryptonite. If I can trigger that compulsiveness as a superpower to serve my community, serve God, build businesses, go into my creative ventures, but still do it in a healthy way, I think that's actually a positive. And to be honest, in that sense, being an addict can be a blessing, and I'm blessed to be able to have that. I like good chemistry here. I know for guys listening, they literally just looked at each other at the same exact moment. Like, question, follow up.
When you came back from LA, you come back to Columbus. You mentioned one of your grandparents.
Yep.
Tell us about that transition. You get back, and you're with your fiance, and
at that point she's not in the picture yet.
She's gone.
Yeah, no, she's not there.
Yet.
Okay.
Yeah, she's not even in the picture yet. So we're talking about, just for context.
Were you heartbroken when you came back? I know why you came back, but did you feel like you were abandoning your dream?
Yeah, so I mean, we're talking now at like 2016, going into 2016. So so yeah, to kind of answer your question, so I was out there for a couple years, get back around like 2016, I think it's the time frame. Single, everything. Just kind of now trying to pick up a marketing career and just get a job and start building a life back in Columbus, knowing I'm still here to be with my grandmother and my family too, because I did really miss them. And family, really, I'm blessed to have a family that has kept me grounded, and I think that's why it hurts so much to know that I've let them down a lot because of my addictions in my past. But that's the whole point of the Lord too, is to forgive yourself. But to answer your question, yeah, you know what? I was so passionate about wanting to make it in the music industry and wanting to kind of have this notoriety as like, dude, this is a really cool job. I get to chill with celebrities. I even get to like push my music here and there to people in rooms of importance. So at the time, absolutely, I was bummed, because I was like, man, now I'm stuck back in Columbus. But as you get older, and as especially in the last 2 years as I've been on this walk with Jesus, like, I realized like my dreams are actually coming true right now, man. I'm sitting on a podcast right now with two amazing guys talking about recovery and addiction and how we can help people, and hopefully what my story can maybe resonate towards someone who might be dealing with it. That's the impact I want, man. I don't care if you want to listen to my music in the club. I don't care about any of that stuff, man. I want to promote the kingdom in everything I do now.
That's good, man. That's good. So you, excuse me. All right. So you're, how do we get into video games? That's what I want to know. I'm sitting here this whole time,
that is a good
like,
point, because he never.
The video games.
Yeah, because they're like, wait, what? Okay, so
was it cocaine induced?
Yeah. It's like, I have a crazy idea, and after I got the Tylenol out of my throat, no, I'm just joking. But so. Video games and like nostalgia and just growing up as a kid in the 90s with my twin brother, like, that was always such like a beautiful, important part of our lives. And, I'm going to take you guys back as like having LAN parties with your friends before you could play online.
I did participate in that.
Dude, hooking up Xboxes and playing Halo and getting pizzas, or for us, N64 with GoldenEye. And it's just like going to Blockbuster with your family and getting, a movie, or using their, renting video games, and you had to beat it in a week, or you have to pay $20. Like, and it's just like that nostalgia really brought me back to a time of peace and a time of, vulnerability that sometimes I do miss, because I was unaware of what the pain in life really could bring you. and what, struggles kind of come from, also living a life as an addict. I mean, these are times where I never even thought about drugs or alcohol because I still found joy and happiness. And as I got more into my addiction, I realized my joy and happiness came from using drugs, and that's it. And everything else that was authentic, real, and genuine around me just seemed like I was a stranger to, that I couldn't connect with it because I was so hooked on partying. And so little before the pandemic, I was introduced to this is kind of a full circle moment. You asked, so I'm going to answer it. It was full circle moment. I'm on Amazon Prime at the time, and I find this show called the NES Pursuit by a group of guys out of Southern California called Pixel Game Squad. And I start watching these videos I didn't know existed, that there was content where they went to flea markets and they bought all these old video games that I used to play, and they were having fun with their friends, and it was so just like fun and joyfulness, and it wasn't glorifying partying or anything. It was glorifying being with your buddies and reliving your childhood, and I thought it was just such a beautiful thing. So I showed my twin brother this, and I was like, Eric, we got to go to some game stores and start buying some games. We used to play this all the time. We used to have this as a kid. We had so much fun, And that was like the first hit in a long time where I was like, this could bring me happiness and joy that's not, drug and alcohol related. So,
and you were still getting high at the time.
Of course, yeah, of course. But on top of that, because of my addiction, my relationship with my brother I have a twin brother, was so far apart where, during COVID, he got married and I wasn't even asked to be his best man.
Ooh, ouch.
Actually, I was fourth in line. The first three bailed because of COVID, and I happened to just fall into place, because
that's
it's
not uncommon. I mean, when you're doing the shit we were doing, like, people really don't want to fucking be around.
They don't want to be around you. You're not really pleasant when you're not on drugs, and then when on your drugs, you think you're choking on Tylenol.
You're not
so
pleasant
like, I don't
either
really,
way, really.
Yeah.
Like, you think cocaine makes you like more interesting or like a better storyteller or like have a better personality, and really you just kind of fucking suck.
Yeah.
And I always tell Tim this too. I was like, you met sober Jared, so you're truly seeing my heart. You're seeing who I am. You're seeing my mind and like my best representation of who I was supposed to be by God. So you're getting a really good outlook on that. But a lot of people, so when people see who you used to be and now you're transformed, they're like, wow.
See, I think there was three people for me. I think there was Lewis prior to drugs, which I do believe that, I had that addict piece in me.
Yeah.
I think I've had it in my whole life because I used to steal shit when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I used to do all the same shit. And then there's Lewis when I was getting blasted on whatever, and then there's Lewis now. And like, there's pieces of my personality that are still the same, but really it was like three different individuals completely.
Just kind of follow the thought of, so me and my brother start building our relationship again based off our love for nostalgia, and we start collecting video games again and getting into it. And this is during COVID. He's planning this wedding too, so he was really stressed about everything. And long story short, and to me, the way God is always ahead of us, fast forward to now. Fast forward to 2 years ago when I did get sober and transformed my life, I developed a friendship with this channel, the guy who runs Pixel Game Squad, and he saw my editing from the channel I was doing with my twin brother at the time, and he asked me to join the channel and be a full-time video editor. So the very content creator that inspired me to get into retro gaming, but also saved my brother's relationship, and seeing his positivity. I mean, he is also a Christian and he's pretty bold in his faith and his content put me in a position when God knew I was ready as someone that was sober and willing to kind of take my talents to a whole new leap. I was given the opportunity to be the full-time editor, and here we are.
And is that a paying gig?
Oh, yeah.
That is absolutely
Yeah,
insane.
dude. I mean, I've done over, I think, 150 plus episodes now.
Wow.
And it's just going. We're going stronger than ever. Like I said, we've tripled subs. I mean, we're at I think 125,000 subs now.
So on this channel, are you just a behind-the-scenes character?
Yeah, so they all film in Southern California. So they're all based in the OC area. We get to see each other, a few times a year at conventions, unfortunately, but we talk every single day, constantly, 24/7. And, I consider them my best friends, like literally my best friends. And it's amazing you can build that connection with people without even being in the same room with them.
So does it ever cause, like, not jealousy, but like, man, I wish I could be on this thing too? And I'm assuming maybe that's why you started your thing.
Yeah. So we kind of already had it, and it never causes jealousy just because I'm so in deep with content right now in my own thing with my brother too, that there's plenty of camera time for Jared. But I think the really cool thing about being a video editor and being a storyteller is it's like being in the Matrix, that I can put myself in places that make sense. So, I'm known to their fan base. Obviously, their fan base now translates to our fan base too, but I'm known as Editor Jared in that world of, whatever Marvel universe they're into, So, I'll be at conventions and people might be like, are you Jared from Retro Gaming Pandemic? I love your content. But also some people may be like, oh, it's Editor Jared. What's up? So I think that's really cool to kind of get those worlds to kind of collide too.
I have immense amount of respect for people who edit content. Bruno does our long forms, and like I started doing shorts more recently and the TikTok stuff, and I did have to edit one full podcast, and it is a lot of fucking work.
Do you guys use Opus Clips for some of the short form?
He uses DaVinci.
Do you know about Opus Clips? Write Opus Clips down. It's great for short form. It's AI.
Oh, really?
It's great, bro. Just that's a whole other conversation. But Opus Clips will save you a lot of time.
It's just a lot of work and attention to detail and
oh man,
bang your head into a fucking wall to get it perfect.
Especially with engagement and stuff too. I mean, if you look as content creators, especially with long form, a lot of those kind of setups with advertisers and sponsorships are based off the retention and the amount of time a viewer is watching your content. So, those views, you might have to accumulate, let's say 500,000 to 1 million views to even get paid out on a ad sponsor, which means you have to put those ads in multiple videos till you hit that. And then obviously with the, the AdSense aspect of it, you need to have retention. You want people to see the ad so you can get paid because it's impression based. So someone needs to actually watch the ad for you to get paid. So it's like, how as a content creator, how as a video editor, can I make the story engaging enough to keep them throughout the whole 20, 30 minute video?
That's a lot of work.
So it's a lot of thought. It's not just filming. It's like filming
telling
with direction.
The story.
Yeah.
And isn't it hard because like I would look at it as like what would keep my attention for 20, 30 minutes, but like I'm not the entire
audience.
You know what I mean? So
right.
How do you think for everybody?
So with YouTube specifically, what I've learned, it's different from how we watch movies, because we watch movies from beginning to end. So, we don't know what's going to happen till the end, but essentially in YouTube, you kind of want to edit as a hook, as something that's an eye catcher from the beginning. So you're actually editing from end to beginning because you're showing the audience what potentially they're going to be watching at the beginning, so they stick around to the end.
To watch it,
That's so mentally exhausting.
Yeah,
man.
With your recovery and your choice to get sober, tell us about that, kind of the end game for you, or your bottom.
Yeah.
And then how that's translated or changed your career and your life.
Oh, man. So, and this is what I love to talk about the most, because this is the transformation. Mm-hmm. And this is like, this is the Saul to Paul moment on the road to Damascus opportunity, where, like I said, my fiance left me, somebody who I loved. I mean, we're planning a wedding, and, despite what she saw as Jared the addict and not being able to, understand kind of what I was going through, which is fine because she didn't sign up for that. So it's okay. But not realizing, like, my heart, I really loved her and I wanted to be married and be with her forever. I just couldn't at the time, because I mean I wasn't who I was. I was really lost. But to feel that pain and that heartbreak, it was really kind of my rock bottom, just because of how much love I had for that person, that it changed my life, and it put me in a situation where I had to surrender. I had to, because I didn't know what else to do. And I know, some people have that kind of surrender moment from, maybe overdosing, maybe going to jail, whatever that surrender moment is. That was my surrender moment, where I was like, man, I've served Jared for so long and what Jared's wanted. And, if I'm on a road, I keep going into a ditch. And every time I get out of the ditch, I go right back. And I realized that for me, surrendering to the Lord was going to build those barriers that kept me in line. Because every time I do what Jared wants to do, I burn myself on the stove. And even though I know the flame's there, I'm going to still test the water. Every time. And I think that's who we are as humans, though, man. And what I feel is just, righteous, and morally right without the guidance of a relationship with God is actually wrong, because it's just what my head is telling me, or what, in a spiritual realm, maybe what Satan is telling me. So after she left, I was really ready to surrender. But what's really crazy, guys, is though I recognized God in my life having that impact, I still didn't go on a spiritual journey with the Lord. I recognized the Lord, but I didn't have a relationship with him for 2 years. So I was focusing on my recovery. My number one goal was to not do drugs every single day. I was like, I'm not doing drugs today. I'm not drinking today. Every day. So I'm going to the gym a lot. I'm working out every day. I'm working on my physical and my mental. I'm still serving and volunteering and helping people and having conversations with people that are still struggling. But it didn't take till January of 2024. So just, within the last 6 months, I'm sitting in my car. I'm sober at this point. By the grace of God, I'm sober, and I have that under control, I feel like. But I don't think you ever have it under control. You just take one day at a time. And I'm in my car, and I just start crying. And these are tears of sorrow and sadness. And I'm just like, so I prayed for really a second time. I'm like, God, why do I still feel lost? Because I'm doing everything people are telling me to do. Jared, you're an addict. Don't do drugs. Jared, you're an addict. Don't drink. Go to the gym. Get fit. Transform your body. My career's going well. I'm editing for my dream channel. Life's great, but I'm still lost. Yeah, I'm not in a relationship. I'm single and I'm lonely, but I'm still lost. What is my actual purpose in this world? And I went on Amazon and I bought my first Bible I ever bought in my entire life. And it came, and I just started reading it. And I had a lot of trouble with, step 8 and just making amendments with people, making amendments with myself, and the whole nature of forgiveness. And I realized, and I think I talked about this, Luke 23:34, where Jesus says, please forgive them. They don't know what they're doing. And I realized if Jesus can forgive and ask God for forgiveness for the very people that are crucifying him in the most brutal way possible, then I can look at my own self and my life and also forgive people that have hurt me in my life, and also forgive myself for hurting people too. And so that was a really pivotal life of my transformation, is that though I was an addict, and though I went through my own recovery and I was sober, I still couldn't forgive. And from then, I called my mom, and I was like, Mom, we went to church a few times growing up when we were kids, right? There's this church where we grew up in Reynoldsburg called Reynoldsburg Community Church. I was like, would you like to go with me Sunday? And let's just check it out and see what
How'd she take that?
Huh?
Was
she loved.
shocked?
She was like, let's go. Yeah, she was like, really? Because my parents never would push any of this stuff on me. And my mom was still a woman of faith, but she never, she wasn't tucking at me in the night saying I love you, but God loves you more. It was never like that, So I came to this on my own. After already being sober too. And that's how I really felt the authenticity and the genuineness of it, is that my heart was telling me to do this, Jared. God was telling me to do this. Went with her that Sunday. Went to the men's Bible study, the one that Tim and I actually just attended before coming to this podcast, and I never looked back. And February 25th, 2024, I got baptized into the faith. my twin brother, who never had a relationship with God, he watched me get baptized that day. I'm going to cry just talking about it. But he watched me get baptized that day, and he was like, I saw something. I saw you transform, Jared. I knew who you used to be, the selfish, the flawed person, and I saw something happen that day. And he started going to church, and then he got baptized in April, and it changed our relationship. It changed my life.
That's great, man. And I think, one common misconception with people like us is that if you just take the drugs and alcohol away, you're fucking automatically this
exactly, Lewis.
Great person. And that's not the case. You mentioned purpose, and certainly that's what I had to do. And for me, it's whether it's helping kids in schools or going into correctional facilities. Like I go into a correctional facility every Thursday. It's one of my favorite things to do.
Yeah, I love that.
It gives me purpose.
You both are amazing men. I really mean that, and I feel it. I feel it in this room. I'm really grateful to be here.
I appreciate that. I think inherently I'm a bit of an asshole.
Yeah, big time.
It's all right. I'm still an asshole.
Well, I'm way less of an asshole than I was previously.
Dude, I'm a flawed sinner, an imperfect person, but, by the grace of God, I'm trying every single day.
And that's the point, right? Make disciples.
Yep, make disciples. Yep.
It's beautiful. I got 2 questions.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Please.
Back to the video game front.
Okay.
So or just toy period. What's the rarest, most expensive piece you have? And secondly, what's the greatest video game of all time?
Oh, okay. These are 2 excellent questions. So the most expensive game I have a bunch of them, to be honest. I will say kind of the more sought after, which is actually what I just got recently, and this is going to be kind of a random people are like, wait, that's expensive, but it's Futurama for PlayStation 2, and it's complete in box. It's valued. It's about a little over $400 for a PS2 game. The manual itself is like $150 to $175.
Excuse me?
It's the manual. So the booklet
Just
itself.
The book inside of the
it's so
box.
hard
for
to
PS2.
find for PS2. So yeah, and then so I would say that's one of the more valuable ones. But we're talking. There's games that are worth, if you have a complete in box, there's games that are worth thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. And if you get it sealed, oh my gosh, you're buying a house with it.
Yeah.
So, and then to answer your question, the best video game, in my opinion, dude, I'm going to throw this out there, and I'll probably, if someone is listening, they're actually like super video game nerds like us. I will say I'm a big kart racer guy. I love racing games. And I love the N64, and I love Diddy Kong Racing.
Diddy Kong. Okay,
and I think it's such a random. I always throw it out there because people are like, "You're nuts," but it's also an amazing game. It's it did something that Mario Kart couldn't do, and was introduced an adventure aspect of it too, with a story. There was a boss that you had to go against to save this Diddy Kong universe, and so I think it's a really special game. So Diddy Kong Racing is, I think, one of the best games.
That's a good game.
Yeah.
For all the video games I played, and I spent I played World of Warcraft, Warcraft 3, so
the MMOs, man.
Yeah,
my attention span's
Dota,
little.
all that stuff.
Yeah.
So I know all that stuff, and I was super nerdy in that aspect, but I don't know fucking a percent of the things that you guys know about video games and
it's just
stuff like that.
Like you were saying, it's just it was our childhood, and just what kind of really made us happy before things got complicated in life. It's like you didn't have to worry much, and you kind of treated it like I would have to beat a boss, and then I beat the boss, and I went to the next stage. But you knew every time you hit save, you could always go back to it. And I think with life, the more I learn about life as a 34-year-old man, it's like sometimes you don't get that opportunity to just hit save and come back to it, and you really have to capture the moment. And
it's a big part of recovery too. Is being
big part
present,
of recovery, yeah.
Yeah,
and I getting back into it. It's like we sold a lot of these material possessions for temporary joy and happiness of getting high and using.
Oh shit.
And so when I you know, I wear these gold chains, you know, like real gold chains because I used to have gold chains that I sold for drugs. So, you know, now I wear these chains knowing that I was able to get out of that, save money, and go back and buy what I pawned. And that was a big moment for me where it was like, you know, went to the pawn shop that I originally sold these chains to go buy an 8-ball or whatever it was, you know, because at that point towards the end, it's like, you know, the well eventually dries up with the cash, and it's just like I was able to buy that back, and that felt really good because I was like, I did it.
Yep.
Yeah, it's cool.
It's cool. It's a good feeling, man.
The
it's
well
like
certainly does dry
Yeah,
up,
man,
doesn't it?
It does.
Let me tell you. Done plenty for money.
Sound clip that.
That sounded fucking
Lewis,
crazy.
I've done plenty
That sounded
for money.
fucking wild. Thank you, man. And, you know, for our viewers, check out his channel, Retro Gaming Pandemic.
Yeah.
Your story's great. You tell it very eloquently. You know, and it's been cool having you. I feel like this is one of the guests we could sit here and talk to.
For hours. Yeah.
Hours.
I really appreciate you guys having me. I mean, you know, I look forward to building a friendship with you both and learning about your stories too. I know we're still recording. Is it all right if I close out with a prayer just to pray for all of us?
Yeah,
Is that
whatever
okay?
you want, yeah.
Cool. I would love that. So, Heavenly Father, thank you so much for bringing all of us together in this room today. I'm so grateful to be here at the Get a Grip podcast and to be able to share my story and be in the presence of just such excellent men who are using their hearts, their gifts, and God-given talents to really make a change in people's life. Lewis, after learning more about your story, I pray that God continues to use your gift to help people that need it. And to anyone that's listening, I pray that if you are dealing with addiction, if you are struggling to find the strength through your faith to be honest with yourself and make that commitment to really start this journey of recovery, because I promise you it will change your life. Lord, for anyone that is listening that has unfortunately lost a loved one due to this disease, this addiction, I pray that your grieving and your pain eventually comes to a situation where you can help heal from that. I know that's a very difficult thing, but Lord, I pray that you help them get through that. And God, I'm just very grateful that you found me when you did, and you did a 180 in my life, so I'm able to talk and share my story and be the light that you made me to be. In the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, amen.
Hey to the man, bud.
I didn't burst into flames, did I?
Yeah,
I'm still here. Holy shit.
Still here, bud.
Lightning.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, thanks,
Man,
guys.
Thank you.
thanks,
You're
bro.
the man. Appreciate it.
I appreciate it.
All right.
God works in...
How long did we go? I feel like we went a while, huh? How long are they normally?